One more over. One at each on each side. Perfect.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Wysocki. I'm the chief here in Camden County Police Department. I'm very proud that we're hosting this press conference here today. Since 2013, we've really been drastically able to reduce gun violence here in the city of Camden. And this case is going to demonstrate the work that we have going on this side of the river, but also working with our partners on the other side. I'd like to announce those President, New Jersey Attorney General Gurbir, Grewal, Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro, Director Veronica Allende from the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Noble from the New Jersey State Police, Lieutenant Colonel Farge of the New Jersey State Police, Deputy United States Attorney Matthew Scahill, Special Agent in Charge Charlie Patterson of the ATF, Assistant Special Agent in Charge David Carter, the FBI in Philadelphia, Resident Agent in Charge Raymond Franklin of the DEA New Jersey, Acting Camden County Prosecutor Joe Mayer, Inspector Joseph Fredericksdorf of the Philadelphia Police Department. General.
Thank you, Chief Wysocki, and thank you all for coming. On October 20th, 2019, a Sunday afternoon, 2-year-old Nicolette Rivera was in her home in the Kensington section of Philadelphia. She was in her mother's arms when gunshots ripped through the family's home. Nicolette was killed. Her mother and a contractor working inside the home were seriously wounded but survived. Although 2 men were charged with Nicolette's murder, the gun used in that shooting was not recovered until last month. It was recovered when a Philadelphia gun trafficker named Robert Crossley allegedly sold it to a buyer here in Camden. What Crossley didn't know was that he was selling that crime gun to law enforcement. And thanks to the efforts of the men and women in this room, that murder weapon is now off the streets. And thanks also to their efforts, a 9mm handgun linked to another shooting in Philadelphia is also off the streets. That's why we do these cases, because each gun that's taken off our streets and taken out of the hands of criminals is a life saved. And those guns, the 2 that I just mentioned, are 2 of a total of 36 that were seized during the course of this collaborative investigation, Operation Zombie. The guns recovered in this case include 10 military-style semi-automatic rifles, 2 of which were equipped with illegal large-capacity magazines. And many of these guns recovered in this case were allegedly obtained by straw purchasers in Pennsylvania, including at gun shows. In addition to these dangerous weapons, our investigators also removed 20 ounces of suspected methamphetamine from our communities. Let me put those 20 ounces into perspective. Depending on the purity of the meth involved, that could be as many as 14,000 doses of a highly dangerous and a highly addictive drug that's reemerging as a serious public safety threat in all of our communities. Others will provide additional details concerning this investigation, but we allege that Crossley, who used the street name Zombie, and co-conspirator Matthew Zoba led this Philadelphia-based gun and meth trafficking ring, a ring that also included co-conspirators Victoria Ziff, Michael Snyder, and Yuri Lubinsky. We arrested Crossley, Zoba, and Ziff last week. Snyder and Lubinsky have been charged by complaint warrant, and their arrests are pending. Let me also say this about gun laws. New Jersey has some of the toughest gun laws in the nation. You can't simply walk into a gun store in our state, present your driver's license, and walk out with multiple military-style rifles. We don't permit gun shows, and therefore we don't have gun show loopholes. These strong rules and regulations help keep our residents and our law enforcement officers safe. Unfortunately for us, other states don't have equally strong protections. That's why 4 out of 5 crime guns recovered in New Jersey in 2018 originated outside of our state. Pennsylvania was one of the leading sources for some of these crime guns. And this operation shows clearly how gun traffickers exploit gun laws and loopholes in states like Pennsylvania, and how these weapons end up in the hands of criminals in New Jersey. But at the same time, what this operation also shows is our commitment to keeping all of our communities safe by working together across states and across agencies to put an end to these iron pipelines of illegal firearms and to stem the flow of dangerous drugs into our cities. I want to acknowledge an important partner in these efforts, and that's Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro. Not only did General Shapiro's office play an important role in this investigation through their Philadelphia Gun Violence Task Force, today General Shapiro and I are also announcing a new Pennsylvania and New Jersey gun trafficking initiative, a collaborative law enforcement effort to share intelligence to target gun crimes that affect both of our states. Philadelphia and Camden in many ways represent a single metropolitan area. Criminals don't halt their activities at the Delaware River, and we must work together across our borders to stop them. The General will speak more about these collaborative efforts momentarily, but it should be apparent from the extraordinary partnership on display before you in this room that all of us are committed to doing everything in our power to stop the proliferation of illegal guns and drugs into our communities. Our residents shouldn't have to live in fear that they'll be caught or killed in crossfire as they go to the store or visit a neighbor, or that their children will be shot as they walk to school or play on a sidewalk, or that innocent toddlers will be killed in their mother's arms in the sanctuary of their own homes because of one of these military-style weapons. Again, I want to thank all of the partners in these efforts. Chief Wysocki mentioned them. I won't mention them again. It's an extraordinary collaboration, and it's my honor now to introduce the Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania, a partner in these efforts, my friend Josh Shapiro. General.
Thank you, General. Thank you, General Grewal. And it is an honor to be standing here with these distinguished men and women of law enforcement from both sides of the river. Let me especially thank my Chief Deputy Attorney General, Brendan O'Malley, and my Deputy Chief, John Kitzinger, who are with us today, and thank the men and women, especially of the Philadelphia Police Department, who are our partners in so many operations, including this one. You should know that Attorney General Grewal is a great friend and a great law enforcement collaborator. He's also a great difference maker across this country and here in the Garden State. His work, in addition to that of the New Jersey State Police, has served as an invaluable partnership to curb the violence that racks our communities. Philadelphia and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is on the front lines of the gun violence epidemic, which claims the lives of 36,383 Americans last year, 1,500 of them from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We've lost 35 Philadelphians this year alone. 35 Philadelphians who have been shot and killed since January 1st. That's up 40% over the same time period last year. Day after day, week after week, we are tasked with mourning those that we lost too soon. But we are also called upon in these times to do more, and we are. Last year, I created Pennsylvania's Track and Trace Initiative, a first-of-its-kind program aimed at combating crime guns and gun trafficking. Simply put, Track and Trace is a data-driven approach to engage police departments and law enforcement to share crime gun data, to share crime gun intelligence, and to cut off gun pipelines. As anyone up here could tell you, crime guns do not adhere to city, county, or state borders, and they have a nasty tendency to pop up in multiple crimes like those we have confiscated today. As a result of our Track and Trace initiative, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, along with other states, are working on new and collaborative ways to share intelligence, dismantle gun trafficking rings like the one we've shut down here. In the past, trafficked firearms that crossed state lines, they seemingly vanished. They were effectively wiping the slate clean for deadly weapons, which allowed them to change hands more and more and claim more and more lives. These illegal guns should not be allowed to disappear and remain unseen for investigators. Today's operation leveraged that data sharing and tracing technology, exactly what we do at Track and Trace in Pennsylvania, and exactly what we will do with this new collaboration with New Jersey. Without the collaboration of law enforcement, we wouldn't be standing here today. Over the course of the past several months, our gun violence agents worked with Attorney General Grewal's office, the New Jersey State Police, the FBI, and the Philadelphia Police Department. I want to particularly point out the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force. They have been invaluable partners in this effort between the FBI and the Philadelphia Police Department to take down felons and gun traffickers. And we targeted ringleaders who used straw purchasers to move firearms in between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. This was a significant operation, and the results speak for themselves. 5 criminals, 36 guns, 3 explosives, and roughly $45,000 worth of meth, a growing menace in this region, which started as an isolated drug used in northwestern Pennsylvania is now spread all across the Commonwealth and is claiming lives. These are obviously significant numbers, and these are metrics often used to judge the success of a law enforcement operation. But too often, some lose track of the personal toll that these criminals and these guns and these drugs have on a community. This is an important announcement for a number of reasons. These confiscated materials bear the fruit of our collaborative efforts, certainly. And to be sure, they come with the arrest of 5 dangerous people who peddle death as their trade. But as Attorney General Grewal said, the AK-47 recovered was traced to one of the more horrifying criminal actions that we've seen in recent memory in the city of Philadelphia. Within a 24-hour period of time, this assault rifle claimed the life of a 2-year-old child and injured an 11-month-old baby. One gun killed 2-year-old Nicolette Rivera. That same gun injured Yazim Jenkins, an 11-month-old, with a different shooter on that gun. The same gun traveled between 2 states. That same gun traveled and changed hands over and over again, from shooter to shooter and criminal to criminal, prohibited purchaser to prohibited purchaser. We need to ask ourselves, why are these weapons of war on our streets in the first place? Washington and Harrisburg have told us and showed us time and time again that they have no interest in making progress when it comes to common sense gun reform like what we've seen in New Jersey. Simple reforms. It would save lives, like universal background checks and stopping the sales of these weapons of war, have sat idly in Harrisburg because certain leaders won't even bring it up for a vote. So it is up to all of us here in law enforcement, like the men and women I'm honored to stand with today, to do our part. But here's the thing. As we do our part, others need to do theirs if we are going to save lives. These shootings are corroding the souls of our cities and fracturing families for the rest of their lives. We shouldn't stand for that as a society. It is a choice that policymakers are making to do nothing in the face of this type of violence and death and destruction in places like Philadelphia and Reading and Hazleton and Erie and communities all across Pennsylvania. I'm beyond grateful to continue the fight in combating crime guns and gun trafficking and the gun violence epidemic alongside Attorney General Grewal and the other law enforcement leaders who were with us today. Getting these 36 guns off the street will no doubt save lives. This is tremendously important work, and I'm proud of the difference that we've been able to make in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. At a time of great division in our Commonwealth, in our state, and in our country, The public should know that they have law enforcement leaders willing to work together to save lives and stand up for the members of our communities. That's what we're doing here today in front of you, and that's what we do every single day behind the scenes for the good people of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you, and I'll turn the microphone back over to Attorney General Grewal.
Thank you, General Shapiro. General Shapiro is talking about extraordinary partnerships and the tracing of firearms. There's no better partner in those efforts than the ATF, who is represented by Special Agent in Charge Charlie Patterson, who stands to my right. Charlie, you're a terrific partner, not just in this case, but on so many others, and we thank you for your assistance and on all the great work that we're able to do through whether it's NIBIN analysis or other tracing platforms that the ATF helps us with. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Raymond Franklin, the resident agent in charge of the DEA in Camden, also a terrific partner on these efforts when it comes to removing dangerous drugs from our streets as well as weapons. So thank you, Ray. I also want to commend those who conducted this operation from the Department of Law and Public Safety, from the Division of Criminal Justice, Gangs and Organized Crime Bureau, Deputy Attorney General Cassie Montalto. Thank you, Cassie. Deputy Bureau Chief Eric Dabb, Bureau Chief Lauren Scarpa-Yafantis, DCJ Deputy Director Anne-Marie Taggart, and from the New Jersey State Police Gangs and Organized Crime South Unit, Detective Sergeant Garrett Cullen, Detective Sergeant First Class Greg Ogden, Detective Sergeant First Class Tom DeVirgilis, Captain Michael Flory, and Major Michael Kane, all under the supervision of the Superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan, who unfortunately could not be with us this afternoon. Now it's my privilege to turn it over to the Director of our Division of Criminal Justice, who will provide additional details regarding Operation Zombie, Veronica Allende. Veronica?
Thank you, Attorney General Grewal. When Operation Zombie began in early 2019, Robert Crossley was on the radar of both federal and state authorities as a result of his alleged trafficking of guns and methamphetamine from Philadelphia to Camden. It's a testament to our strong working relationships that we shared intelligence and joined together to conduct this collaborative state and federal investigation. All 5 of these defendants in Operation Zombie face serious criminal charges. Robert Crossley and Matthew Zoba are each charged with first-degree promoting organized street crime. Crossley for managing the gun trafficking conspiracy, and Zoba for managing the drug trafficking conspiracy. Crossley and Zoba are also charged with first-degree distribution of methamphetamine. All 5 of the defendants, including Victoria Zip, Michael Snyder, and Yuri Lutbinsky, are charged with second-degree conspiracy in connection with the gun trafficking and second-degree transporting firearms into the state for illegal sale or transfer. All of the defendants, except for Zip, are charged with second-degree conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine and in most cases face additional second- or third-degree drug charges. Lastly, all of the defendants are variously charged with additional second, third, or fourth-degree weapons offenses. I said that these charges are serious. The first-degree charges against Crossley and Zoba carry a sentence of 10 to 20 years in prison. And a sentence for first-degree promoting organized street crime must be served consecutively to a sentence for any underlying offense. Second-degree charges carry a sentence of 5 to 10 years in prison. Moreover, the second-degree charge of transporting firearms into the state for illegal sale, which all 5 defendants face, carries a mandatory term of parole and eligibility equal to 85% of the sentence imposed. The illegal trafficking of guns into New Jersey offered ready profits for these defendants. Guns purchased in Pennsylvania by straw purchasers were priced up for illegal sale to criminals in New Jersey, with an AR-15 rifle selling for as much as $2,200. To move their products, Crossley and Zoba texted photos of the weapons they acquired to prospective purchasers. Essentially, it was their version of online marketing. And frequently, they offered same-day service to Camden. Given the easy money offered by this illegal commerce, We need to send a strong deterrent message to the criminal profiteers who capitalize on the market for illegal guns in New Jersey. The message we are sending them with Operation Zombie is loud and clear. We will arrest you and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent allowed under New Jersey law. With the exception of Zip, who was released on bail, most of the defendants arrested are being held in jail. Crosley and Snyder are being held in New Jersey pending detention hearings, and Zoba is being held in Philadelphia pending extradition. Lubinsky is pending arrest. We pledge to continue to collaborate with our law enforcement partners here today and all of our partners at all levels to stop the illicit flow of lethal firepower into our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And now it's my privilege to call the Deputy Superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Noble. Jeff?
Thank you, General. If there's one thing we've learned in law enforcement is we can't do it alone. We can't do it as one agency or as one community or as one town, one county, or one state. We have to work together. We have to work together regardless of the jurisdictional boundaries. We have to work with our communities, with our elected officials. And we've learned that it is a true team effort. And this particular investigation illustrates the best of that. This type of investigation pulled the resources from 2 states, numerous counties, local authorities, county authorities, state and federal. The collaboration that was exhibited in this investigation was without regard to the patch on our sleeve. It was focused on the unified commitment to creating a safer community on both sides of this river. We stand proud today with our partners both in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania, and I want to commend the men and women of law enforcement that have put their lives on the line to make today possible. The sacrifices that they've made and the long hours that they've worked have made this day possible, and I want to thank all of them for their efforts. Thank you, General.
Thanks, Jeff. So we'll take your on-topic questions.
General, could you discuss from your point of view, from New Jersey's point of view, the importance of this initiative, how it's going to be carried out, and the kinds of information and technology sharing that will take place?
So I think the number of guns seized in this investigation alone, the 36, underscore how important this type of collaboration is, that how it's a little bit easier to purchase firearms across the river using straw purchasers, and we have a demand for them, unfortunately, here. So we are working on the demand side of it, but we are also working to curtail the supply side of it. And the way we do that is, as the General mentioned, by sharing trace information, by sharing intelligence. When you bring law enforcement from different agencies from across the river to sit down together and to share that intelligence about the targets involved in these types of crimes. And then, as the Lieutenant Colonel just mentioned, by not caring what patch is on your sleeve, but by working together in a shared commitment to take these criminals off the street. So I think the partnership that we forged to date and the partnership that will continue moving forward will be critical to making a safer community in Philadelphia and here across the river in Camden.
Did you know that Crosley, did you believe that he had the automatic weapon used in the killing of Nicolette before you made the purchase? Were you drawn to him because of that case in some way?
I'll answer that by saying that we were only able to determine and make that link after the fact by doing an analysis of the firearm. And so we learned that after we obtained the firearm from him. Go ahead.
General,
Dave.
The AG from Pennsylvania mentioned 35 homicides just this year alone. Do you have a number for Camden?
Chief Wasaki could share that, but I know from talking to the chief, the numbers in Camden, knock on wood, are trending in the right direction and have been for the last number of years. But Chief, for the last year, 2 homicides?
We have 2 this year and
Two-
25 last year.
Two homicides this year so far, and then 25 last year.
The point you made about the number of crimes with the same weapon can be used day before it's taken off the streets, how much are you expecting that some of this information sharing and this back and forth stuff will help you clear backlogs and stuff, or get information that you need to do to bring some other families and peace of mind?
So I'll pass it over to General Shapiro, who made those remarks, but I think we see that in a lot of our cases. When we're able to do the NIBIN analysis, we're able to link multiple shootings in different cities in New Jersey, that a shooting in Newark is linked to a shooting in Camden, is linked to a shooting in Trenton. because we know those shell casings are coming from the same gun, and we know that they're sometimes used as community guns and that guns are passed around. And so the more collaboration we can have between our states and our agencies, we can take those guns off the street. Josh?
Criminals move fast and they do not pay attention to municipal or state boundaries. We also know as a matter of fact that every one crime gun is used in an average of about 5 different criminal activities. And so the more we can share information, the quicker we can track and trace these crime guns. Certainly it will help us solve crime faster, but ideally what it will allow us to do is to save lives. Pennsylvania has a specific state law that requires all crime guns recovered to be put into a state database in order to both track and trace these crime guns. When I took office about 3 years ago, of our roughly 1,200 law enforcement agencies in Pennsylvania, only about 200 of them were putting their crime gun data into the database. Obviously, we've made significant improvements on that, and law enforcement agencies are working with us to improve that. Now being able to take that information and work with New Jersey and share intel back and forth will allow us to not just be able to stand up here and speak to you about arrests we make, but more importantly, it will allow us to save lives.
That's just a follow-up question about what's behind the proliferation of methamphetamines at this point. Do you have any understanding of why that's resurging?
Look, we've seen it move across Pennsylvania, as I said before, from northwestern Pennsylvania now down to our most southeastern corner in Philadelphia. It is relatively cheap. It is plentiful. And I wish I could tell you that it was taking the place of fentanyl, which it's not. We're still seeing a significant amount of fentanyl. It's just another front in this battle day in and day out that we have to try to save lives. And we're doing our part. Obviously, today is an important part of that. And we still got a lot more work to do, but we're making some progress.
One more question?
Blake?
I just wanted to ask, what, with this new initiative, what will this look like on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis with information sharing? What will actually that look like on sort of a moment, practically what will that look like?
So I think a lot of our meetings, happen with regularity, and it's sitting down and sharing intel about individuals, but the information sharing about tracing, that's a fluid process. And so as we get information that touches on other investigations, as we contribute information to databases, there's no set timeline on which that happens. Is as things develop, we share them, and that's our commitment to work with our partners across the river, because we know this is a problem that's not confined by the Delaware River, that crime guns are moving both directions, and we're sharing information as quickly as we can.
Attorney General Shapiro, can we just ask you real quickly, just a Philadelphia-based question?
She says.
So obviously,
I'm at the mercy of the New Jersey folks here, so go ahead, Jeff.
I know you forward-leaning.
Go ahead.
It is obviously illegal to make straw purchases in Pennsylvania. You're saying these guns were straw purchased. Do you know if they did an instant check on the purchaser, the gun shop? And do you have any interest in the gun shops that made these sales? And when you say nothing's being done in Harrisburg, who is it that's not doing anything? The Republican majority in the legislature?
You're asking me two different questions, so let me try and address both. I like how you did that, Jeff, trying to make it seem like one, though, as to not get the ire of the communications director here. I'm not going to comment on where this case may or may not go as it relates to the straw purchase. What I will say, though, is that we see routinely people who are oftentimes in these cases victims themselves, women in particular, who are used as straw purchasers for an individual, typically a boyfriend or husband, who is a prohibited purchaser. And one of the decisions we made in the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office was there were times that necessitated us arresting the straw purchaser, and then there are times that call upon us to educate and empower, oftentimes these young women, to stop them from straw purchasing in the first place. So we launched an initiative, I think you're aware of this, a few months ago called Operation Lipstick, where we partnered with a national organization together with Mothers in Charge in North Philadelphia, where we are literally in schools and in salons and in community centers all across Philadelphia, educating and empowering young women about the dangers of straw purchases and helping us break that cycle of violence. And we believe it is working. And Jeff, I would encourage you in a few months, after we've been at this for a year, to ask us for the data, which we will provide. That's part of the grant that we underwrote in Philadelphia, to be able to show that, yes, there are times we need to arrest the straw purchasers, and there are other times where we need to educate and empower them. As I'm going to let the New Jersey officials speak as to the charges in this case. As it relates to Harrisburg, let me be very clear. The Republican majorities in the House and Senate have stopped progress on common sense gun violence prevention. There are two things at the very least we should do, and that is pass universal background checks, and that is make sure these weapons of war cannot be sold on the streets of Philadelphia or anywhere else in Pennsylvania. Now, we could resolve this issue once and for all in all of the states and commonwealths across this country by the U.S. Congress doing its job and by sending a bill to the president's desk and putting pressure on him to sign it. That would make us all safer, and that's what I think we need to do.
Thank you, everybody. Like I mentioned before, we're going to break down, and then we'll take a few more off-topic questions in a couple minutes. We know some people have tight schedules, and some of you have tight deadlines. So anybody who needs to leave is more than welcome to go now. We'll just leave the two attorneys general.
You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank
You as well. I hope you know Jen Selver and the folks in our shop. Whatever you think.
All right, Veronica, thank you.
Very good meeting, sir. Good meeting you.
Charlie?
Absolutely. Always good for you. I got 18. What do you need?
All right. Thanks. Nice to see you. Yeah, sorry to hear about it. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's what we're trying to do, is draw this stigma away from it. How's your week going? Hey, I don't know if we met. Oh, hi, Gurbir, Grewal. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Good.
We're going to take a couple questions. We're going to do it from here. So everybody can, then we can do it after.
Is this yours, Josh?
That is, I think, the chief's.
Okay.
Chief, I think you're left here. I believe this is yours.
I feel like if you stop doing that, right? I think it's not you have to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes.
All right, everybody's good. All right, just a couple of off topics.
Yes, sir.
Your thoughts on the Department of Justice expressing support for Cape May and Ocean and their suit?
So as I said on Friday in the statement we released, I'm deeply disappointed by the decision of the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office to join this litigation. It doesn't surprise me, coming from the administration, that they would put politics above public safety, but for those two other institutions to do the same thing, institutions that I worked for and spent a significant part of my career working for, I wish they would understand better that what they're doing by pushing forward this lawsuit and getting behind this undermines public safety. And I'm confident that we'll prevail on the merits. The administration has lost these battles when it's tried to force us to do its immigration work, whether it's border wall, burn jag funding, whether it's public charge, you name it. Those those litigations have resulted in losses for this administration, and we're confident the same will happen in this case.
Anybody else? All right.
I guess I would just also ask,
Blake?
would it be accurate with this, still in the gun initiative thing, is the initiative a continuation of what you guys were able to do with this operation? Is this a continuation of, you made it work here?
This is an example of it working, and this is an example of what we'll do for the time to come to shut down this type of gun trafficking and prevent violence on the streets of our respective communities, whether it's on this side of the river or the other side of the river.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Josh.